Hello, my name's Vic Gilgis, and I'm here to do another podcast for you. And myself, EP58, Shift in Consciousness, Your True Well-Being, Part 3. And it's all about, obviously, again as a title, a shift in your well-being, and I do it to help me with my well-being. So this follows on from the previous podcasts, part 1 and part 2, which is giving, hopefully has given you some grounding in well-being. And what I'm going to do today is continue with that grounding and to expand on, I think the best way to give you your well-being is the work done by Sydney Banks in 1973. Now, I really have felt that this has done me some good, and I know it sounds a bit woo-woo, but in the real world, it is real. You can look in the mirror and say to yourself, "I am perfect," because you are. And once you get to know that, yes, I know we've all got faults and, I'm as ugly as sin and all the rest of it. But no, truly, as a human being, you're fine. And when you get through this understanding to get to know that you're okay and that you don't have to rely on others to make you feel okay, and etc., you are okay. Now, talking about the grounding, how did I get to this stage, which we all need to kind of acquire some knowledge of what well-being is about. I started listening to Hay House Radio when Louise Hay was alive, and she was a great speaker and author on good living and well-being, and she founded Hay House Radio, and what I was going to say there was prior to that she was an author, as I've just said, but because she couldn't get published, she founded her own publishing company called Hay House. So she's a great person. I've met her once, yes, and great woman, not with us now. And so just going through some of the things that can help you get up to speed on all this. Michael Neal, used to do on Hay House NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So every week I used to listen to these things. They were about 3/4 of an hour long. There was Robert Holden talking about happiness. I can't remember if Alan Cohen was on it, but he would be talking about spirituality. And if not, I would be reading books from Alan Cohen, and definitely Wayne Dyer. He's passed now, but he was talking about positivity, and books that he did were on the Tao and the power of intention. Brilliant. Now, going back to me talking about listening to Hay House Radio, I was listening to Michael Neal one day, and as I say, NLP. And all of a sudden he just broke off and deliberately, and was very brave in doing so, said that he'd found something else, which was not a modality, which was not a technique. And it worked. And he wrote a book called, I forgot the name of the book now, The Inside Out Revolution. And after that, a book called The Space Within. And in The Inside Out Revolution, his first book on the principles, he informed me that particular day very bravely that he was going to do something different, and that must have made a lot of people fed up on the NLP scene. But even the people on the NLP scene would realise that it is different, because it is not a technique. It is just a knowing about how we tick, about how humans tick, how their psychology can mislead them and kind of not get the solutions that psychology, in other words, the way we think about things tries to bring. So And to illustrate this a little bit, to give you some clues, because you can't just dash into the 3 principles, because it sounds like a technique if you do, and it's not a technique. It is an approach to knowing and understanding of life. But as a break into this, along the way, and this is a good door stopper, if you cannot read it first, it stops doors, it keeps doors open. I've read the whole thing, and believe me, it's mind-blowing. A Course in Miracles. Helen Schuckman wrote the book, but she wouldn't put a title to it. She wouldn't say she was the author. It's now published by the Foundation for Inner Peace, roundabout, and I must check this, roundabout 1973. And that's why I mentioned 1973, because that's the time when Sydney Banks had his epiphany, and when he saw the light regarding what was what, as regarding how we as humans tick. And that was in 1973. So there was obviously something in the air. This happens. Every so many years, somebody comes along and just reveals something to us that we've never seen, because they became conscious of it. And that's why this podcast is talking about consciousness, a shift in consciousness, a shift in the way in which we look at things and perceive things and know things and are aware of things. It is a deeper awareness. So, so one of the things in this, lesson 75 in this book, A Course in Miracles, is titled, The Light Has Come. So I'm going to read what it says. And this just basically, The Course in Miracles is a Christian book, Judo-Christian. It mentions God a lot. I don't go to church, I'm not religious, but there is something that keeps all the planets in orbit. Someone created it, and we don't know that. We can't really ever understand that, but it's there and it helps, and this is what the principles are about. But I'll go, and so this book, I would say, signified a spiritual awakening, which is just what Sydney Banks said in 1973, because what he said was that psychology doesn't look at psychology doesn't look at the spirituality side of things. It doesn't take it into account. Excuse me, I've got a bad cold. I'm keeping the handkerchief industry in business. Right, so what does it say? Lesson 75. The Light Has Come, it's called. The light has come signifies a profound spiritual awakening and the end of a long dream of disaster. It represents the realization that the light of truth and love is already present within us. Within us, it is, dispelling darkness and leading us to peace and joy and liberation. The lesson encourages to let go of illusions and embrace the truth of our divine nature, opening our eyes to a different world where the real world rises before us in gladness. It emphasizes the importance of forgiveness, which opens the blinds that reveal the light that was always there. This lesson invites us to see the world through the light of God's love, reflecting heaven across the world. Excuse me. So, that's kind of saying that there is a light within us that knows joy, knows love, knows happiness, because it is that, and it's within us. And it doesn't say, I always think of Robert Holden, who talks about, well, he makes a lot of use of the Course in Miracles. And I remember Robert Holden saying, as regards this lesson 75, the light has come, saying, no, it's not on its way, it's not been and gone, it's actually come, it's here now. Just remember that, it has come. And I would say it's always been there, obviously, since we were born. in everyone. We just don't realise it because we're too busy with the psychology of what we think life really is. And I'll come back to it later. We live in the matrix. We're not seeing what's going on in this world, which is absolutely beautiful. This world to many of us is miserable and horrible and torturous, but it's not. Yes, we all have traumas. We all have horrible things that can have happened to us, including myself. You know my story. I lost my wife, all the rest of it. But we can be okay because we have got something in us that is okay and always shows us the way and guides us. So I'm going to now, for the first time, and I've done it in earlier podcasts actually, explain what the three principles are. Now, the three principles are formless. They are divine, and they are mind, consciousness, and thought. Let me explain what thought is. Thought is that we have the ability to think, and is like the ability of the sky to hold clouds in it, to let birds go through it, to let storms go through it, to let dust and debris flow through it. Dragons can flow through it. It is just an ability to be able to think. It is what it is the link that we have to be able to a thought be produced. Now, a thought is of the form. It comes from the ability to think, which is divine, which is formless. And out of that sky is all them things. In other words, the thought is the ability of thought. But when thoughts arise, as they do, they can be good, make us cheerful, happy, contented, but they can be bad, where, we're in despair, we're being tortured and all the rest of it. It is the most powerful two-edged thing, and it is the way in which we have the power to use it. We can choose. Yes, okay, all of a sudden, without us knowing that we're thinking, we can be happy. But when you register that is the signal to say you can choose to think differently, you can choose to be differently. Now, the reason that thought is so powerful is because of the second thing of these three principles. Thought is the first one, or one of them. They're a trinity, and they're all the same thing. You can't have one without the other. So the consciousness is the ability to witness, to know, to see the thought, to be conscious of the thought. And consciousness puts, I would say, makes it 3D, puts bells and whistles on the thought. So if you're, for example, mired in despair and you think more and more about despair, it's like an app that will take you down the rabbit hole. In other words, oh dear, do you want to end your life? Well, the app will tell you, if you keep scrolling, the doom scrolling, of how to end your life. It'll give you more information. And that's what the consciousness does. It focuses on something and looks for more detail on that something. If you focus on the fact that you are okay, then it will give you evidence, because it, in actual fact, is basically those type of thoughts we're talking about, even good or bad, are of form. Before form, I'm telling you, is the ability to think, is the ability to have consciousness, to be aware of a particular thought or thoughts. So that's this two things. Third thing, important thing, is mind with a capital M. This is formless. It is the intelligence of the universe. It is the knowingness of everything. It is an intelligent energy. If you want to know a lot of detail about it, I'm just looking at my bookshelf now. Anyway, I'll come back later. There is Lynn McTaggart, The Field. Read that book. It'll tell you all the quantum detail about what is going on really in the universe. In other words, everything is energy. And so energy is like before form. In other words, energy, Einstein said, energy equals matter. E equals mc squared. But energy is there. It was there. The world the universe, the planets, everything is created out of energy. That foam, those rocks floating around, including the earth, is foam. Before that was energy. I'm talking about, and Sydney Banks was talking about energy and he called it mind. He could have called it God. He could have called it universal energy. He could have called it intelligent energy. But what I'm saying is, when we, instead of looking at the psychology of things, which are foam, in other words, formed thoughts, or let's worry about this, let's think more about that, why did she say this, why did my boss not give me a promotion, why has this happened in my life? Those are all thoughts about something, and they can drive you nuts. When you kind of take your mind away from that, and that's not easy, but giving you the knowledge now, the understanding that this is possible, instead of looking in that direction of foam, when you look into the formless, at the energy, that is where the juice is, that is where the lever is. When you kind of ask for that to happen and know that can happen and trust that can happen, as I have done, you'll get back results. Things do happen. Keep in mind on the time here, because I'm only a fraction of the way through. Now, this mind, little mind, is always concerned with the past, because it remembers the past and all the bad things, the good things, and it worries and is concerned about the future. You've got to remember that our psychology is based on a mindset which has been developed over eons, where we're worried about the big bear next door having us for lunch, or the tribe next door attacking us. So we are built with a mindset which is like risk kind of concerned. It always has been. It kind of tries to keep it, and what I'm saying is this intelligence that we have in the small mind tries to look after us. It tries to keep us safe, because it's always known. Worry about them because they might do X, Y, and Z. Worry about the fact that you're not successful because society says you should. In other words, it is always on the kind of lookout, on the run, and it keeps us limited. When you have a mindset that is open, because that mindset that we've got, every one of us is different, but it is limited. It's limited by what we've learnt, what we've picked up, what our teachers have told us, what society is telling us. And at the moment, society is, excuse my French here, is giving us a load of shit. It really is. No wonder we're worried. No wonder we're frightened. No wonder we go up in our mind and say, oh my dear, what can be done? But in actual fact, if you really want to know what to do, this intelligent energy that Sid Banks referred to as mind with a capital M helps you, tells you how to survive, because it survived. It's always been there. It knows what to do. It is life. It is intelligent. It is love. Robert Holden once wrote a book called Love Ability. A brilliant book, saying that love has got intelligence. Of course, life has got intelligence. We wouldn't be where we are now. Your flamingos and birds of, what have you, flying around with all these adaptions and what have you. That's nature. Nature's intelligent. It knows. And we are part of nature. And the trouble is, we've got this advanced brain which looks at all the odds. It's got a dog in the fight of everything that is a worry. And when we kind of realise that that dog is not helpful to us, we come back and step back. And that's what Sid Banks said. So, and another thing about thought, if you've noticed, it's never in the now. That's why mindfulness is, again, a technique. It's very useful, because mindfulness is say, let's stop the past, stop the future. We're in the now. How often do we live in the now? We're always kind of watching something in the ways it takes us out of being present in the now. And that's what basically mind with a capital M is always in the now. That is where the juice is. That is where the information is. So what else can I say? Right. The secret to all this is knowing where your feelings come from. Sydney Banks emphasised the good feeling. And it is difficult, can't explain it. See, Sydney Banks said, don't listen to my words. that listen for look for the feeling, and when you get the good feeling, you just know something's right. Now you might say it's gut feeling or intuition, but it's our energy field, it's our self knowing through the feeling things are right, and you know when things are wrong. Often we know. Let's practical. We know in the real world that when things are wrong because there's a bad feeling, but we still have to do it because we have to, drink with the devil. And sometimes we do that. Sometimes we say yes to a particular boss, knowing that we shouldn't have said yes because we're worried that, again, we limit ourselves. And there used to be books in say yes to life. Well, my advice is say no to bloody life. It's particularly when of the form, somebody is saying you got to do this and you got to do that. No, because when you say no to that type of life, you really start living your life and you start to expand. Now, again, I'm going to refer to what it says in the preface of this great big tome of a book, The Course in Miracles, because it reflects exactly what the principles are talking about. It's and this is on the preface, sums the whole book up. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Now, this is just what Sydney Banks said. In other words, what he was saying is that we live in a thought-created reality. In fact, he called it the great illusion. Our thoughts are an illusion. Our thoughts are what we make up. We live in our own truth, but is that reality? We're all different. And so when we come to understand that we're all one and come from these three formless things, man, consciousness, and thought, that's where the juice is. Is where the truth is. That is real. And it says there, nothing real can be threatened. It cannot, because it's always been there. It's that energy. It knows what to do. Nothing unreal exists. And I've just said we live in the matrix. We live in a thought-created reality. And enjoy it. It's nice to be in the matrix sometimes. It's nice to be at the party. But, there's a bigger party going on, all right? So, taking it into the principles, for example, in a low mood, often we don't make decisions because you know that your consciousness is low, your conditioning is springing up, your ego springing up, your conditioning mind. Your intellect only knows stored knowledge. It doesn't. And so when you're in a low mood, it's because you're thinking X, Y, and Z about form around us, what is going wrong, and it's not going to get you in it. It's like interrupting the flow of life, like a river, and grabbing a bucket of water out. I mentioned this before, where you look at all the things in the water and say, "Oh, this is terrible. There's muck here. There's that dead fish there." But you all of a sudden you're out of the flow of life. The flow of life is great, and where the fresh water is not in your thoughts coming out of your conditioned mind. It is knowing that if you slow down your thinking to that, then you're going to get some fresh water, some fresh milk. It's not stale, it's upstream, it's pure. It comes from mind with a capital M. Now, so going on about low mood, Einstein, and he's quoted for saying everything, poor devil, he probably only said half of it or a fraction of it, but he said a problem can never be solved at the level of consciousness of which the problem was created. Well, of course it can't. When you're in a low mood, you cannot solve things at a low mood. And that's what Einstein said. He said, in other words, he would be saying there, when you are feeling, again, coming back to feeling, when you are feeling okay, you start to be able to make better decisions. And where do our good feelings come from? They come from this intelligent energy, which is love, which always knows. It's not taking sides. It is, for want of a better word, impersonal. It knows what is right. It knows what you need, not what you want. And if you let that guide you, it will always sort you out, because it knows what is needed to live life, because it is life. So listen to it. Listen to it. It is difficult to listen to it because the noise of life is like the brass band playing, whilst the noise, the sound from the mind is like a tiny flute played. Listen for that flute. Now, so it is, when we're in upsetness, it is a signal, as I've said before, to stop, look, and listen. Now, when we're in turmoil of thought, I've done this before. There's the snow globe. I'm sorry, it's not a big snow globe, but in theory, it says like there's all this stuff floating around when you shake it that you can't see through the blizzard. You can't see what's in the middle. Well, you still can see what's in the middle here. But what the metaphor is, because this is a metaphor, when you let that settle, you can see clearly what is going on. And so when you start to let the mind settle, and that can be through meditation, it can be through going for a walk, it can be through mindfulness. But let me tell you, these are still modalities. They are techniques to calm your mind. It's not a technique. When you just understand that the mind can just settle of its own accord, and it will do from time to time, because that's natural. That's the way we are built. When it settles, you get to know what's what comes from mind with a capital M. The trouble is these chattering teeth. And again, I'm trying to explain the principles. Free exhibition here. Right. Now then, so I think it was Dr. Amy Johnson, another great speaker on this. She'd called it the parallel tracks thing. In other words, we're on a train of life, having a glass of wine or a tea or a coffee, enjoying ourselves, talking to people. That's a track of life. But there is another track of life, which is the chattering, the teeth metaphor, the narrative, that's the word I was looking for, where there's another parallel track, which is a narrative on what's going on. In other words, we're like in a play of life, but we're coming back from it, and we've got a narrative of what's going on. And once you start to go into the narrative, in other words, is this good? Is this bad? Why are we here? What's going on? Why are we doing this? Is it right? Should we be doing it? Oh, once you've got that narrative, it takes you out of living life, of smelling the coffee, because you're in the narrative. And people don't realise that all the time they're in a psychological, mind-conditioned narrative, thoughts about something, when we live in a thought-created reality. We live in an illusion. Well, I mean, it's nice if that illusion is nice at the party, but, if you like kidding yourself, well, and the opposite of that is when you've had enough misery, and I've had buckets full of misery, there comes a time when you say, I have had enough of this. Now, the way out of it is to know that the principles have always got your back. They're there. They're working on your behalf. And as soon as you stop listening to all that chatter, all that narrative, and basically start to realise that you are in the now, present, that your mind can settle, then you start to basically be okay. And it is doing what it is, doing nothing, just settling. And out of nothing comes everything, because this energy comes from nothing. It's no thing, it's formless. Okay? Now, so really, you don't need, thank God, but what I'm saying is you don't need to be educated in all this, because it's quite simple. And that's why people don't get it. They're always looking for some complex method or, technique or what have you to solve things. No, you don't have to do that. Now, I know this is a look at time. I'm a little bit pushed for time. I'm still going to dash on a bit. Maria Galan, or Galan, brilliant speaker. Go and look for her on YouTube. And what she says, our rational mind, this mind with a small m, basically keeps us a victim. In other words, it is saying you've made a mistake here, you're not up to scratch, you don't earn enough of it, you're not good looking enough and what have you. And I would say, well, what she said was, bring me a different me. Ask the universe to bring you a different, don't settle for being a victim. I remember when I wanted to go into higher education, to postgraduate education, the head tutor of the college that I was at, and I'd got not a degree, I'd got a diploma, a high national diploma. And I asked him about me going to Cranfield to do a master's degree. And he said to me, no, you're not up to it, kid. Keep in industry. You're more of a practical person. You have not got the type of academic mind to cope there. If you let people and life define you like that, then it will define you. No, don't settle for that. I didn't settle for that. I went to Cranfield, I got my master's, and I'm not trying to big myself up here. What I'm saying is that when you think outside that box that people give you, when you let other people define you, you are stuck. You're going to be a victim. Well, I mean, have a go. Enjoy life. Go to the real party that is around. So your mind is a servant, not the master. You are the master. What you've got inside with the principles, mind, consciousness, and thought, you are the master. You are not the servant. So it is the servant. Go fetch me a better life. When you start to say, I want different, you'll start to get different because you're not thinking of samey. You're not thinking samey. Instead of looking here, you started to look in a different direction. Our mind, our tiny mind can only imagine a particular tiny version of ourselves. That's what it does. We are life. We are infinite. The energy, intelligence is infinite. It knows stuff that we have not even comprehended. When we start to be with it, it kind of lets us know. So don't stay stuck in your present kind of conditioning. You're not worth it story. It's basically setting yourself free, and that's just beneficial for everyone. We are ruled by our ego, and the ego can't forgive. And the ego is a made-up thing. So when we've done things wrong, we fret, we worry, we shouldn't have done that. Well, we can always start afresh. Okay, that's what forgiveness is. The ego is very hard on us there. It's more hard on us than anything. So, what I'm saying is a shift in consciousness is what I'm talking about, dissolve the problem. Now, when I was running one of my classes years ago, and it's in one of my books called A Wonderful Life, there was a lady came to my class, and in the book, I present the letter with her permission in the book. And what she says is, she was listening to me talking about this stuff one particular evening, because it was evening class, and all of a sudden she had a shift in consciousness. And it liberated her. And that's what this podcast is about, is that we all, and this is what Sydney Banks said, we've all got the ability to have a shift in consciousness. And when we have that shift in consciousness, it comes with a feeling. We start to feel better about life because we're in life, and life is great and it's expansive. So basically, all this judgment, self-talk, improving yourself, what have you, you don't need to do anything. It's not hard work. It's the easiest thing is to just relax into this knowingness, into the three principles. So I'll stop yabbering on then now, and I will go on to just relaxing. So thank you for listening so far. Now, so I'm going to do some breathing, some relaxation, and then basically just an end chat. So breathing. So if we just kind of settle now in our chair and breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Just breathe naturally now. So let's have some relaxation. It's lovely to just acknowledge your body and all the things it's doing in the now to help you as much as it can. It's there. Feel your presence. Feel the container that you're in. It's lovely. Just relax. Relax from the top of your head, your scalp, soft scalp. Just relax. Coming down now to your temple, just relax temple. Just relaxed. Relax down through our cheeks. Relaxed jaw, lovely going down. Down to our shoulders, nice and easy. Just ease with your shoulders. All the way down through our forearms, just relaxing. Relaxed chest. Relaxed tummy. Everything down, relaxed. Nice and easy, that's right. Relaxed bottom on the chair. Right down through your thighs, relaxing your thighs. Down to your knees, relax knees, easy. Down through your calves, easy and relax, just letting go. Down to your ankles, easy there. Your feet so relaxed, down to your feet, down right through to your little toes. So relaxed and easy, just taking it easy, that's right, all nice and relaxed, having gone right down through your body. So that's just nice, thank you. So it's turned out nice again. Thank you. I hope that I've explained the principles in some shape or form to tell you that what you've got there is, well, the knowledge and energy and love and wisdom. I never mentioned wisdom. It's there. There's not any wisdom in the intellect. At the moment, there's just us and them and wars and grief, and every time you put the telly on. No, that's all through developed by this mind, us and them. The wisdom comes from knowing the oneness, that energy that is in us, life's energy, it knows. And I know this sounds a bit woo-woo, but if you settle down, less of the chattering teeth, knowing what the snow globe settling down, you just come to your being, your beingness in the now. And in the now, you're always okay because you've got what it takes. You always have had. We're all unique. Creation, energy made us into foam. We are spirit on legs. It's nice to have the legs and run about, enjoy the parties, enjoy the worry, enjoy the nice things. That's life. Enjoy it. But you enjoy it more when you know that at any moment in time, you're living in a thought-created reality, the Matrix. Okay? The truth is always behind that. It's formless and it's running the show. So when you know that what's running the show is you, really, you start to be able to look at yourself from a perspective. In other words, you're in a play, like a Shakespearean play, and that play can be good or bad or indifferent. It's up to you. You're the creator of that play. But have you noticed that you can also observe yourself? Well, what is that? That is big mind. That's life energy. When you get with that, it's wonderful. Even though you can be miserable, you can be in grief. I'm in grief. But love is always there. The understanding that whilst we are alive above the daisies, we can get on with life knowing it's got our back. That intelligent energy is flowing through us. And when we look in the opposite direction, thinking that we can run the universe, well, just take a rest. Just chill, do nothing. And that's what's good about this knowledge of the three principles. Just do nothing. And everything is achieved because everything comes out of nothing. And I'm not just being woo-woo here. Everything has always come out of nothing. From that energy comes everything. And that energy has wisdom. So I have got the wisdom word in. So thank you for listening and watching. I'm going to give next podcast, now that I've explained the principles, I'm going to give some examples of well-being, because I'm going to give a talk in September, and I got at this talk I'll go through. What if you want to read anything of Sydney Banks? That's just sprung to my mind. Read The Enlightened Gardener. In the garden. Sydney Banks, The Enlightened Gardener, or read Second Chance by Sydney Banks. Because, thank God, we all are able to have a second chance. I'm so lucky to have had that second chance. And that's what Sid Banks, that's why he wrote the book. I've got a second chance of life now. I can get out of my head with all these worries. I can live and enjoy life. And I'm going to, because life is abundant. It's there to be lived. And how often do we take ourselves out of it, all in the past, worried about the future, never in the now? So get with it. There's 2 good books to get on with. Keep yourself topped up with all that niceness. Thank you again. I'll see you next week, hopefully. Well, a fortnight.